Hello and welcome with me. I'm Matt from Magic Gaming Unlimited, here today to bring you another booster pack opening. Today will be 2014 core set. I keep seeing a lot of the Thero spoilers and I'm getting excited to start opening those packs soon. But until then, we'll stick with the core set and let's see what we open today. The first card we see is Child of Night. It is a black 1 for a 2/1 with lifelink. This card is a fine card for limited. Being with 1 toughness, it is very killable by almost anything in this set. But it does grant you the ability lifelink, which seems like is really relevant sometimes in this matchup. I like drafting this guy if I'm running like the black-red decks, or if I'm trying to force the black-white enchantment or angelic accord decks. It's just fine. It can be a beating if you have like dark favor and stuff on it, or even the white version of it to give it +1/+3, which makes it a 3/4 lifelinker, which is quite powerful. Yeah, it's a fine card, but not first pickable. But it's still a great card. The next card we see is Angelic Wall, which is a white 1 defender with flying, and it's a 0/4. This is great for the white or the white-blue flying decks or control type decks, just because it's a fat body for a low cost that will block almost anything until it gets about the 4th turn, which is still a solid 2 to 3 turns of blocking. And if they don't have anything, this creature can normally block all game. Being flying, it really helps, just because a lot of the flyers don't have more than 4 power. There are a couple, but for the most part, Messenger Drakes and the Charging Griffins that you'll see the most do not have it, and it's a fine card. The next card is Fog, which costs green, instant, and prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. I actually really dislike running any type of fog during limited. To me, if you're fogging, you're either stopping yourself from dying for a turn, so you hope you draw something. I mean, it could be a combat trick if your opponent's full tilting and then you full tilt to kill them. I get it. But to me, it only seems like you run it if you're in a losing race. I would much rather have a different spell in its slot, just because it would be more relevant. I mean, if you're full tilting me this turn, you're probably going to full tilt me next turn and kill me regardless. So I do not like Fog at all, but let me know with your comments. And tell me what you think. All your cool experience running Fog as a main board. The next card is Seismic Stomp. It is red 1 for a sorcery. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. This is a fine combat trick for a sideboard, especially going against mono flyers, just because it's basically, or non-mono flyers, the opposite, like the red-green decks. Just because it can basically give all your creatures unblockable for the turn. And you can one-hit kill them. It's really good for the mirror matches, like red-green, first red-green. I would not mainboard this, just because half the decks, it seems like, a lot of people pick up the flyers, but then they need ground guys to hold out the board until they cast their flyers. So it's a mixed board. It's the same trying to, determine if you want to mainboard a Plummet versus a Wingstorm. Just because it's a mixed field, you don't want to rely too heavily on this as a main board option. The only way I would mainboard it if I'm going the red-white aggro deck with like Striking Slivers and Fortifies would be the only consideration. The next card is Hunt the Weak, which is green 3 for sorcery. put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature fights target creature you don't control. This is one of the only green removal spells they have for non-flyers, and it's quite a powerful effect just because you get to pump a guy plus kill one of their guys. Especially if you run the hexproof guy like the Witch Stalker, it can be a blowout, especially if they can't target it. But most of the green creatures in this set are bigger than the other colors. And so normally you get a free removal spell plus a +1 counter that can affect the next turn. Normally, if I do this, I either play a guy that turn or I skip my turn attacking just because your guy has the damage from fighting. It is more likely to trade with a smaller creature. Even though you get a 2-for-1, I'd still recommend waiting a turn, but it is a great removal spell. I would possibly first pick it. The next card is Show of Valor. It is white 1 for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+4 until end of turn. It is a fine combat trick. I would not run it main board unless I had to if I was low on creature count. Just because there's other stuff in white that you can do that's more interactive, like Pacifism or Banisher Priest or Charging Griffin. Just white can be very aggressive, and if I'm going for a pump sell, more than likely I want to run Fortify. It gives me a lot more options on all my creatures as opposed to one creature. But it's a fine card, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's a combat trick, and that's basically it. The next card is Charging Griffin, which is a white 3-cost 2/2 flyer, and whenever it attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's basically a 3/3 when it attacks. This is a fine flyer in this set. 4 cost for a 3/3 flyers, nothing too bad. As long as you're aggressive with it. Once you start being defensive with it, then it's a whole different issue, being only a 2/2. Just because the other Charging Griffins that's attacking you is a 3/3, or Messenger Drakes is a 3/3. But it does do fine for blocking, but it's more of an aggressive card, and it's fine for any white deck. The next card is Dispersed, which is blue 1 instant, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. This is a actually great combat trick, just because if they try to double block or triple block some of your guys, you can blow them out and get a possibly 2-for-1. It is fine if you're on the losing stick and your opponent has like a lot of enchantments on like a Blightcaster or any kind of enchantment type deck that you can negate basically all their enchantments. It's also fine to stop and give you more room to breathe, or bouncing a card so you can counter it. Like, I know some games I disperse like a Primeval Bounty, and then I save like a negate or a cancel up just to counter it back down. It gives you a lot of reach in the game for a low cost of 2. So yeah, I wouldn't first pick it, but it would be in my deck if I had it. The next card is Canyon Minotaur, which is a red 3 for a 3/3. A fine card for any red deck. Not too powerful, but not necessarily weak either. A 3/3 can hold its own, and it's a fine card. I wouldn't run more than 2 at all, but I wouldn't pick it over other picks that are close to its cost, like a Baloth, for instance. But it's a fine card for any red deck. The next card is Griffin Sentinel. It is a white 2 for a 1/3 flyer with vigilance. It's a fine card in the white decks or the mono flyer decks, just because it has vigilance and it can block. And being with 3 toughness helps in this format. just because it takes a while to get more than 3 power on the board most of the time, just because it's a slower format. The next card is Wall of Swords, which is white 3 for a 3/5 defender flyer. The first time I ever played this set or reviewed this set, this was low on my list just because it's a defender and I didn't think too much about it, but being 4 costed for a 3/5 with flying is actually very good, just because with 3 power it can block and kill most of the things, and with 5 defense not a whole lot of creatures can get past it. So it will either demand a removal spell or a bomb creature that's bigger than 5 power. I wouldn't first pick this card, but I would definitely not let it wield if I had a chance to grab it. Just a fine card. The next card is Volcanic Geyser. It is a red X. Instant. It deals X damage to target creature or player. This is my favorite removal spell in this set that's red. I like it more than Outrage and Flames, just because it can hit a player, and being an X cost, it's versatile just because it can hit either a 1/1 or a 5/5 depending on your mana, of course. But it just gives you reach that it can hit a player if you need to be aggressive early on or kill them late. It is first pickable, and I would definitely pick it if I saw it and there was not any other first picks. Fine card. The next uncommon is Elixir of Immortality. It is a 1-cost artifact that you can pay 2, tap it, you gain 5 life, shuffle Elixir of Immortality in your graveyard into their owner's library. It's a fine card. The only reason I would play it main board is if I was running the Accord decks, just to make a 4/4. Other times it's a fine sideboard options against the really aggressive decks that you see, such as red, green, red, white. But it's a fine spell, especially for sideboard. If your opponent has Jace, it is a great consideration just to be able to shuffle your library back in. And the life gain and the shuffle effect actually do matter. So it's not first pickable, but if I had room and I really needed a 23rd or 22nd card, I would definitely add it to my deck if I had the option. And the rare is Haunted Plate Mail, which is a 4-cost artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+4, and you can pay 0. Until end of turn, Haunted Plate Mail becomes a 4/4 spirit artifact creature that's no longer in equipment. Activate this ability only if you control no creatures. And the equip cost is 4. This is actually what I would be considered a bomb to me in this set, just because giving +4/+4 is a huge effect. And if they do happen to kill all your creatures, you got a great 4/4 that can attack and block. You can activate it on any player's turn, so if they kill your creature that's equipped to it and they try swinging it in, and as long as it's not tapped, you can activate it and block with it if you have no creatures, which some people don't realize. It is definitely first pickable, and out of this pack, actually, it would be my first pick. So that was a great rare. Then we have a swamp and a token. So that was the pack. Please remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Each subscription really helps, and each comment and like helps me. It boosts my morale, and it lets me feel good about opening more packs and spending my money towards it. And I hope that this has been a great learning experience for you. It has been for me, getting the chance to explain each card and their picks. And I hope to see you guys in the future. This has been this daily pack opening, and see you next time.